Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for tuning in. In this video, I am sharing thoughts about the Bible truth of the 144,000 mentioned in the book of Revelation. If that interests you, stay till the end and leave a comment so we can continue our search for truth. The number 144,000 is a significant, much debated figure in the Bible, primarily appearing in the book of Revelation. Scholars and believers differ on whether it should be understood literally, symbolically, or spiritually. Here's an exploration of its biblical context and possible interpretations. The biblical reference of the 144,000 appears twice in Revelation. Revelation chapter 7, verses 4 to 8. John hears the number of those sealed as 144,000 from the tribes of Israel. These individuals are sealed to be protected from the coming tribulations. The list of tribes differs slightly from the traditional 12 tribes of Israel, with Dan missing and Joseph replacing Ephraim. Revelation chapter 14, verses 1 to 5, the 144,000 are described as standing with the Lamb or with Christ on Mount Zion. They are said to be redeemed from the earth. Virgins who have not defiled themselves, without deceit or blemish, singing a new song that only they can learn. Here is literal versus spiritual interpretation. The literal interpretation believes that 144,000 is a literal number representing a specific group of people. And who are they? A remnant of ethnic Israelites saved during the end times. This view is common among dispensationalists who believe God has a distinct plan for Israel in the end times. Others see it as a group of Christians who will be specially chosen or protected during the Great Tribulation. The argument of literalism is that the text explicitly mentions 144,000 and enumerates the tribes of Israel. It emphasizes their specific qualities such as being virgins and blameless, suggesting literal group of individuals. Spiritual or symbolic interpretation interpret the number 144,000 symbolically representing completeness and perfection in God's people. And who are they? The entire body of God's redeemed people, both Jews and Gentiles. The number symbolizes the church as a whole or those who remain faithful to Christ during trials. Why symbolic? Symbolism in numbers is 12 tribes of Israel times 12 apostles or foundation of the church times 1,000 is a number signifying fullness or completeness equals to 144,000. Inclusivity, Galatians 3, verses 28 and 29, emphasizes that in Christ there is no distinction between Jew and Gentile, suggesting a unified spiritual Israel. In broader context, the great multitude in Revelation chapter 7, verses 9 to 10, immediately follows the description of the 144,000. This multitude, too large to count, includes people from every nation, tribe, people, and language, suggesting that the 144,000 could symbolically represent this group. The key themes in the prophecy of 144,000 is faithfulness and purity. The description in Revelation 14 emphasizes their spiritual purity, loyalty to Christ, and their separation from the corruption of the world. The sealing of the 144,000 in Revelation chapter 7 symbolizes God's protection over his people during times of judgment. And the 144,000 sing a unique song, suggesting a deep personal connection with Christ and a reward for their faithfulness. literal or spiritual. The interpretation depends on theological perspective. Literalists focus on the specific number and traits described in the text, often connecting the prophecy to end times events involving Israel. Symbolists see it as representing the complete and perfect church, highlighting themes of faithfulness, protection, and redemption. The 144,000 in the Bible represents a group of God's chosen and redeemed people, but its exact interpretation varies based on theological perspectives. Whether understood literally or symbolically, its ultimate conclusion revolves around God's faithfulness, protection, and redemption of His people in the context of the end times. Here's the complete conclusion regarding the 144,000. God's faithful remnant, the 144,000, signify a group uniquely dedicated to God. They represent faithfulness during tribulation. In Revelation chapter 7, verses 3 to 4, they are sealed, indicating God's protection over them during the Great Tribulation. Their seal marks them as belonging to God, safe from spiritual harm and divine judgment. Purity and loyalty to Christ. In Revelation 14 to 1 to 5, their lives are characterized by purity, integrity, and devotion, setting them apart from the world. This points to the reality that God always preserves a faithful remnant among His people, whether this group is literal, ethnic Israelites, or symbolic, spiritual Israel, or the church. The number 144,000 symbolizes divine completeness and fulfillment because the 12 tribes of Israel represent God's covenant people under the Old Testament, and the 12 apostles represent the foundation of the church under the New Testament. Multiplying 12 times 12 times 1,000 symbolizes a complete and perfect community of God's redeemed people, encompassing all who remain faithful to Him. Thus, the 144,000 is often interpreted as a picture of the totality of God's people, Jews and Gentiles, redeemed by Christ and standing as one unified body. So, victory through Christ is the 144,000 appearing in Revelation 14 verses 1 to 5. Standing with the Lamb or with Christ on Mount Zion, singing a new song that only they can learn. The sin signifies triumph over sin and evil. The 144,000 have been redeemed from the earth, indicating they have remained faithful in the face of persecution and temptation. Unity with Christ in the glory. Standing on Mount Zion means with the Lamb represents victory and fellowship with Christ in His kingdom. Their role is not merely about survival during tribulation, but about participating in God's ultimate victory and eternal plan. The relationship between the 144,000 and the great multitude reveals in Revelation chapter 7 verses 9 to 17 follows the mention of the 144,000 with a vision of a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, and language standing before the throne of God. Some see this as a separate group. The 144,000 are a specific faithful remnant, possibly of Israel, while the great multitude represents the broader redeemed church. Others see the two groups as the same people described differently. The 144,000 symbolize completeness, while the great multitude emphasizes their diversity and inclusion from all nations. In either case, the conclusion is that God's redemption extends universally, bringing together all His faithful people into His eternal presence. Eternal significance is that the ultimate conclusion of the 144,000 is their role in God's eternal kingdom. Witnesses of God's glory, they stand as a testimony to God's faithfulness and justice. Participants in God's victory, because they reign with Christ, sharing in the blessings of the eternal kingdom. It encourages believers. Their faithfulness inspires all Christians to remain steadfast in trials, knowing that ultimate redemption and rewards await. Here is the final thought. The 144,000 represents God's chosen and redeemed people, either as a literal group or a symbolic representation of all faithful believers. Their sealing, protection, and eventual triumph alongside Christ highlight these core truths. God is sovereign and faithful to protect and redeem his people. Christ's victory over sin and evil is assured. Those who remain faithful will share in the blessings of God's eternal kingdom. The ultimate purpose of the 144,000 is to demonstrate God's redemptive plan for humanity, inspiring hope and perseverance for all who follow him. Personally, I strongly believe that the 144,000 are literal. As plain as it is, God clearly indicating that the 144,000 are just the perfect individual from his chosen people who has lived like Christ. They are the one who will sing a new song that only them learn to sing. We may call it the choir. The multitude described in as a representation of all that are redeemed from all nations, Jews and Gentiles, are the ones saved by grace. They never live a perfect life, but saved through Christ. I hope you found value in what you just heard, and may God bless you. See you next video.